The views and comments expressed on the following radio program by its hosts and their guests do not necessarily reflect the views of rmconair.com or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
I got a gift of gab. That's what they call it in the dead world. I don't have no design wisdom. I got supreme wisdom. God only means man. So when you say God, you say man. You ain't saying nothing spectacular. If you have no resource, what good are you? What good are you to the children? Why would I give my life for a brother that's some 85 is jumping, and I run to a day jeopardizing the life of my grandchildren, my woman, and my children? Come to find out this knucklehead was wrong. And he been a pig eater, a closet pig eater, and now I'm putting my life in line just because he say peace and he got a flag on and he master quote 120 degrees. No, that cannot happen. You can accept it or what? Reject it. When man accept what you say, that means he's willing to add on to what you are talking about. If a man rejects what you say, that means all you gotta do is walk away because he rejects the truth that you are telling. There are more good brothers and sisters in our midst than wrong. We all represent what? This nation. Every man must stand up and be accountable. You cannot build no nation without an infrastructure. You gotta have infrastructure. Infrastructure make everybody accountable and responsible. We all gotta stand up and be accountable. Peace, 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 peace.
Peace. Welcome to the Knowledge of Self radio show. I'm Jakil Knowledge Allah.
Peace, Jarul Allah.
Peace, Akim Allah.
Yeah, indeed. So, on this show, first off, I want to start the show off by saying peace to Dumar Wadi Allah, who just recently passed, returned to the essence. So I want to say peace to him and his family. Outside of that, this show is sponsored by Global Position Solutions, and let's just kind of get into it. We're going to be dealing with who are the 5% on this poor part of the planet Earth. And we got a couple questions that we're going to serve the answer today. First question is, who is the 5%? Where are they? Where are they then and where are they now? What are the teachings of the 5%? How did the United States government attempt to undermine the 5%? Ooh, that's a good question. What is the 5% perspective about family? What are men and women's role in the 5%? What is a God and what is a earth? What is the 5% referred? Why are the 5% referred to as a gang by some institutions? Where does 120 lessons come from? Are the lessons outdated? What is supreme mathematics and alphabet? Language that you always hear those brothers talking in the corner. Right. Right. Can 5%ers be successful in teaching freedom, justice, and equality via the internet, or in other words, giving knowledge of 120 online? And another big question is, can a Caucasian or a white man be a 5%er? So first off, I'd like to have my guest, Akim. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit, and then let me know what you think. What do you think it is to be 5%?
Right. Well, my name is Akim Allah, and I had knowledge of self or the nation of gods and earths since I was about 14. Before then, I joined the Nation of Islam, like 12 years old. I had a Muslim brother that lived next door in Mosque 54 in Compton. So I would go to Mosque 54 in Compton and join the FOI, and they wanted me to cut my hair and some other stuff I wasn't down with, you know what I'm saying? But I've always been on a pursuit for truth, you know what I'm saying, and why are things socially this way, and just questions about life in general, you know what I'm saying, and that led me to hip hop, you know what I'm saying, introduce a certain language, and I was like interested in the concept of being God and the black man is God and certain things that I heard on records, and you know, my family, my mom's and her brother, they was Black Panthers, and you know, I was raised in a house with books, you know what I'm saying, mom's is real advocates reading, and you know, no religion was never forced on us, you know what I'm saying, she's rather agnostic, and you know, about liberation, you know what I'm saying, and so that was like always cultivated in my household, you know, so when I wanted to be a 5%er, it wasn't, she knew somebody through work that heard of 5%ers, and she took me to my first rally, you know what I'm saying, so it was cool. Like she supported that, you know what I'm saying, where I know people in my generation, their parents was real strong Christians or Muslims, was like, nah, you ain't God, you know what I'm saying, you ain't changing your name to whatever you changing your name to, so they wasn't real supportive. So I was, you know, I had that as a plus, like I was encouraged to be a critical thinker and a free thinker, you know what I'm saying, and come to my own conclusions from an early age, you know. So
it almost sounds like she was teaching you to be a 5%er from the get-go.
Dig it, you know what I'm saying. So
I see what you did there.
Yeah, so you know, I from that point, you know, I went to my first rally, and it was like I was exposed to brothers that was not too much older than me. I was 14, so they may have been like in their early 20s, you know what I'm saying, but they was grown, you know, on their own, and I just came to rallies and listened, you know what I mean, and went consistently, and one day Bourne was like, well, anybody gave you mathematics? I was like, nah. And he was like, all right, you know what I'm saying, come, you know, we got to link up, you know, this weekend, and he took me to his house and met his wife, and you know, or his girl at the time, and you know, we just real just kicked it, you know what I'm saying, on some just brotherhood shit, you know what I'm saying. He was like, well, here's mathematics and here's alphabets, and you better learn it by the next time I see you, you know what I'm saying. And that was my introduction to the Nation of Gods and Earths, you know what I'm saying. And I think that's the I think there's a fellowship, you know what I'm saying, a camaraderie, a brotherhood, that's Nation of Gods and Earths, and I think there's principles and a program, you know what I'm saying. Like one could come across Supreme Mathematics and Alphabets and 120 and gain something from it, you know what I'm saying, but they wouldn't be grown and cultivated, you know what I'm saying, because there were certain things that I couldn't have gotten just from reading lessons and being interested in truth. I had to, you know, it was like going to rallies, we was held to a certain standard, you know what I mean, of study and don't get caught, you know, having somebody ask you a question you ain't asked yourself, you know what I'm saying, and gone through thoroughly, you know what I mean? So, you know, you need to know your lessons, was like living out the first degree of Supreme Mathematics, which is knowledge, you know what I'm saying? And that's something that I carry with me. Like, now I know that I can quote and learn this book of information. You can't tell me I can't graduate high school. Like, I graduated high school on, nigga, this the white man education, and you can learn 120, but you can't get a high school diploma. You know what I'm saying? You tripping, you know what I'm saying? So I graduated high school based on, you know, being a 5% or encouragement from God's kicking, you know, 5% shit, you know what I'm saying? So
okay. That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. We also got another guest in here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself with your fly shirt on, God?
Wow, thanks. I didn't know you cared. I didn't know you were peeping my sartorial game over here. But yeah, I'm known as Love Allah. You know, I go by other things in the, well, there's more to the name in the world at large. But yeah, I've had knowledge of self since the year 1993, and actually, you know, it was when meeting the good brother Akim across from me. We were, you know, we went to high school together. I was 16, he was 14. I was in 11th grade, he was in 9th grade, and yeah, it was one of those things where the whole puzzle kind of just came together in one fell swoop, because I was, you know, seeking knowledge as well. I'd kind of been bouncing between, you know, the ideas of the Christians and the ideas of the Nation of Islam, and from there, then, you know, when I started doing my reading and my research and came upon some other information, which I'm sure you'll, you know, kind of set up in your questions, yeah, the journey pretty much began. So here I am.
Indeed.
Well, hello, America. or whoever's listening out there internationally.
Internationally, that's right. It's on the internet now.
Maybe some other planet out there. Shout out to the Drake equation. Go ahead.
Yo, in peace, we got Teray in the room.
Peace.
Indeed,
How's everyone?
indeed.
With a very scholarly sweater on in the middle of June. I don't get it.
I got a nightlife, brother.
Bird bond done.
Gotta stay warm.
Indeed. So, how long have there been 5%? You know, so we talk about, you know, who the lessons say, who are the 5% in this poor part of the planet Earth? But I'd like to really pose the question, obviously, has there been 5%ers before here? And
Well,
who are some of those people that maybe we can point to as being type 5%er type people?
very interesting. I mean, not to just jump in and take it, but as far as there being the actual, 5% nation, that has been titled since October 10th of 1964. As far as people that had 5%er traits, when you look at that lesson inside of 120 that says who's the 5% of the poor part of the planet Earth, and being the poor righteous teachers don't believe in the teaching lies of the 10%, and get out there and show freedom, justice, and equality to the human families of the planet Earth, just to paraphrase for a second. I mean, you can look at figures in history like, for instance, Marcus Garvey, and just what he understood about the people and uplifting black people in particular from a time when they were getting beat down badly mentally and spiritually, and needed that upliftment to understand that they weren't just walking dirt, to understand that there was more to them, and find the self-esteem to realize their own power. Because one of our basic tenets in the 5% is you don't give your power away. And up until the point of people like Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali and, certain Christian ministers like Bishop Henry McNeil Turner, there were, black folks in America in particular, really, were kind of forming that hunchback because they just didn't have great self-esteem about themselves, because they were just getting beat down with this system that white folks had set in place, and they had no way out. The system that existed for them was never problematized at that point. So yeah, I would say definitely figures like Marcus Garvey, maybe a contemporary of our founder, the father, Allah the Father, known, in some circles as Clarence 13X. Malcolm in many ways, El-Hajj Malik Shabazz is how he left us.
Right.
There were different understandings. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, let me stop you there for a moment and throw this question out. Let's qualify, or maybe put in more terms that's for people who may not be 5%. What are some qualities or characteristics of a 5%er?
Me, a 5% is anyone who deals with the truth and deals with reality, takes more of a strategic and scientific approach to life. They don't deal with things that they can't prove, and they just deal with reality as it's seen. And, they take a mathematical approach to dealing with certain problems that may arise, and, they understand that if the problem wasn't solved correctly, it was on them. They don't make excuses. They stand up on their own 2 feet. So that's how I see it.
What else want to add on?
I forgot the question was. So what are the qualities?
Yeah. What are some kind of characteristics? Because he mentioned Marcus Garvey as being a 5%er, so
Right.
just so that people can kind of get some more quantitative features.
I think to build on principles over personalities, you know what I'm saying, and people who are concerned with finding out the truth of the nature of man and finding out about the laws of nature and man and how man relates to the universe and using them laws, you know what I'm saying? So it's about being conscious, right? And consciousness, I would liken consciousness to electricity. Like you don't know what it is, but you can find out the laws of it and how to
utilize it.
You know what I'm saying, and make it useful, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's so that's why 5% to me symbolize power, you know what I'm saying? And power is simply truth. And once you know the truth, you know what I'm saying, I think why we use the term God, like we ain't the nation of atheists, you know what I'm saying? We use the term God because God represents, you know what I'm saying, the seen and the unseen, the infinite power of the universe, the intelligence that created or that formed or fashioned everything in existence. Is like God and man are one, you know what I'm saying? We are that intelligence in the flesh, you know what I'm saying? That there's a part of us that has never been born, that'll never die, you know what I'm saying? And if we identify the truth of self, you know what I'm saying? That's the ultimate truth, is that when you deal from, people may call it spirituality or whatever you may, or what you may, but when you look from that level that we are all essentially come from the same source, you know what I'm saying? And have the same power and abilities available to us, you know what I'm saying? You know, why is it that this small population, you know what I'm saying, of the planet run everything, you know what I'm saying? And so I was interested in why'd that come to be, you know what I'm saying? Why we don't have the power or the consciousness, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like no matter what, you got athletes and people that got money and whatnot, but it's like no matter what you earn or even what's given to you, if you don't have the consciousness to receive it, you know what I'm saying, and make the most out of it, you know what I'm saying, you fuck it off, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I'm saying, and nothing to be done, you know what I'm saying? So
see so many NFL athletes, for instance.
Right.
Yeah, another thing I would consider a basic tenet of being a 5%er is the idea of not taking anything on face value, that we are folks that we're taught to read outside, to read in between the lines and think outside the box. Everything has a component of it that should be investigated and verified to really get to the crux of what it's saying. Because I mean, there's the stuff it might say on the surface, but then there's many things that are said beneath the surface that can have even greater meaning to you as a human being and a greater meaning to your very power.
Well, to add on real quick, it's like it would be like the science of most of us, 85%ers of most of us deal with effects, you know what I'm saying? Like money is an effect, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, what is the cause? You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of us deal with symptoms rather than what is the root cause of that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so I think that's just to add on to what you were saying, like to look beneath the surface and get to the cause, because so many times we have friction and shit. Being today's mathematics, even it's knowledge equality. So it's like, what is the knowledge, the energy, the information behind the equality, meaning the relationship between, you know what I'm saying, you know, self, the original man, self, the planet, you know what I'm saying, man and the planet, everything. It's like all encompassing, you know what I mean? That's why I think we use supreme mathematics, because mathematics is infinite, you know what I mean? And we add value to each, you know what I mean?
Right, no doubt.
Indeed.
And a lot of those people don't never try and learn what caused all that to happen. You know what I mean? By letting the people who know teach them what causes that to happen. So speaking of the people who have that understanding, right? You guys want to talk about Allah and how he started a nation based on his understanding of what he was taught and kind of what he came through in the mosque?
Well, one of the things he had kind of gone through in the mosque was that when he began to receive the lessons, being supreme wisdom as they were known inside of the NOI, there were a lot of things that he began to realize for himself inside of there. He realized that the original black man being talked about as God was not only Fard, who Elijah had pretty much positioned in a personality cult as God in person, no disrespect to Nation of Islam, but we everything is real here, but that it was the black man, period, the black man in general. And once the father understood that was his position, that was where he said, no, this is the way it needs to go. Now, however anyone may have read the story, Nation of Islam, it's pretty much understood, wasn't having that. The father obviously wasn't going to back down because he had an understanding that was expanded. Now, when you know, it's kind of like being at a job and you know you've gotten a new skill set, and now you're overqualified, it's time to step. So he went out, yeah, exactly. You know, 1963, he goes out and says, all right, well, I'm out. Time to take this where I think it can be of great use. So he began with people his age, the adults, and one of those things he kind of noticed that was a trait of, people that were like 30, 40 years old or whatever, was they were pretty much set in their ways. They were, folks that they really weren't trying to hear things like, put the swine away, stop eating, ham hocks and all those different things, because that's what they were happy doing. And on top of that, they might not have had as much time to really take the science that he was ready to bring to them and make something of it. Mm-hmm. So he began to approach the youth, and eventually found a young brother, a 16-year-old named Kareem, who became the firstborn of our nation, Black Messiah. And basically, those young brothers, they took right to it. The first 9 born and the other brothers that he taught, they took right to it, and they became a family. One of the first things he taught them was basically brotherhood. That there's no divisions between them, that they are family. Unlike, the things that are used to kind of try to divide us, that are kind of thrown out there in society. I mean, especially in America, there's all kind of like little dividers, but it's like, no, he taught that we are one. Right.
And I think that's a good stopping point right now, how the Father was dealing with family. And, we kind of came together and called him the Father, which was interesting for me when I first came around, because I was like, I already got a father. But when you look into what that word means, father being the prototype, I was cool with calling him father. So let's get back on that note. We'll be back in 2 minutes after this break. Peace. Peace. Welcome back to the Knowledge of Self radio show. I'm Jakil Knowledge Allah.
Peace to Rule Allah.
Akim Allah.
Peace to Ray Allah.
Peace, Kwamel Allah. That completes the, Voltron force. Gotta have some fun with it. This is radio. Come on.
I like that. Indeed. I was just watching for in any event.
Leave that one alone. This is not 1985. Go ahead.
So, let's kind of get back in. So, we kind of talked about who are the 5%, Allah and his first 9 born, and that starting out in now why and having its effect. We're out here in LA, really worldwide. We kind of talked about it, but what are some things that the 5% teach? You know what I mean? Like, you have Christians, they teach that Jesus and you got your heaven. And, he died for you. Muslims, they got their thing. Jews, they got their thing. What do the 5% teach? Not that we're qualified as a religion. And that's interesting, too. Is the 5% a religion?
The
the first question.
Well, I would say the immediate thing that the 5%ers teach is that you control your own destiny. You are the highest power. You are the highest form of intelligence in the known universe. You are what you're waiting for. You're the answer to any and all of your problems. There is nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new that the mind hasn't come with a possible solution for. The power is in your hands. It's not in someone else's hands. In Christianity, one of the basic tenets is the godhood of Jesus, and in the Muslim world, it's that, God or Allah is a spirit. Well, here with the 5% nation, with, us, it's that God is man, period. Bar none in the discussion.
Right, and that's a overlooked principle, especially in Christianity, is that many people don't see past a book or what someone else is teaching them. So, for example, those of you who study the Holy Quran or you study the Bible, you have to understand that there have been millions of years of history that have occurred on this planet in regards to human beings before that book was written,
right,
as well as the Bible. So then you have to begin asking yourself, so how many generations did the God that many people speak of as being mysterious, how many generations did he wait before he delivered salvation or a book of salvation to people. Okay, so we're talking about the course of humanity. So as far as being a 5%, we understand that the most powerful thing in creation is the mind. And this mind is expressed through male and female. And also when we're talking about the creative expression, everything else that you see is a part of our universe. So a lot of people, when they think about the universe, in your college classes, they have courses called physical universe. So everything that you see around you is physical, right? And then you apply that to physique, hell, in high school, physical education. So all of that's dealing with human beings. So I would just say that what I've learned, and all the brothers that are here, they actually came into this knowledge before me. I think one thing that they taught me really well is that you do have to control your own life and your own destiny and be responsible for your own actions. But more importantly, use your mind and use the keys that we're taught to use to help you freely navigate in this life.
Indeed.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah, that was deep. He almost shut it down with that one. No,
Drop the mic. It's over.
Right?
That's what the
Exit stage
5%
left.
teach. That's what y'all taught me, no doubt, and others, you know, all around the world.
Yeah, I think that was the big thing for me coming into this knowledge, was just learning I'm the one responsible for everything that happens. You know what I mean? And so, and really, kind of like Kim was saying, my mom kind of prepared me for that, because she would always say things like, well, if you don't do it, who do you think is going to do it?
There you go.
Right? And so, you know, that's kind of really the answer in short, is you're the one responsible for your life, good, bad, or indifferent.
Right. Yeah, I see that.
Oh, indeed.
Pregnant pause.
No, there was a quick pause. So, hey, you guys, so what do the 5% teach? And who do we teach it to?
You know what? I want to take that for a second.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we teach it to the folks that are hungry for it. It was funny. Right before you asked that question, I thought about there's a white conscious person I know named Satori, and she said that the people that are hungry for the truth are already out seeking it. In the 5%, we don't recruit 5%ers. The folks that want the knowledge, they were hungry for it some kind of way to begin with. Whether they were in the church, whether they were in the mosque, whether they might have been running around with the Buddhists or the atheists or whoever, they were already hungry to figure themselves out and find their power. So yeah, I mean that's one of those things that we don't necessarily go out recruiting people so much as we just lead by example. We go out and be the great people, the leaders and the barons of society, and people will just kind of, you know, see that magnetism or that gravitation that we have. We just kind of shine, and they say, "Oh, what's going on with that cat?"
I got a question.
Yeah, indeed. Go ahead.
I got a question. So do you think 5%ers, like all of us here, were we always 5%ers but just unaware of it? Or is it one of those situations where we had to be cultivated to be that?
And I'm glad you asked that as well, because I mean, one of the things we also say is that, I mean, you're God by nature, you're God by birthright. So I mean, yeah, it's a destiny that you pretty much have yet to realize, or you'll realize it when you're ready to realize it, or you might not. I would say, like for instance, I mean, the people of religion, they are realizing their own power, but they just want to kind of see it vicariously through the ideas that Christianity or Islam or Buddhism or any of those other religions, Rastafarianism, maybe teach. And that's how they figure out, like, oh, okay, like it's their power, but they just don't want to call it themselves having that power. So
do you feel it's a situation where people just don't want to take that much responsibility for their life?
I see what you're getting at.
some people have,
because-
exactly, go ahead.
No, because it's almost like dealing with being a 5%er. You can't necessarily say when something happens that it was someone else's fault.
Can't make excuses anymore.
Right.
Them
You know what I mean?
angels, you know, I was one of them angels, a demon.
Yeah,
Right.
the devil did it to you, or even if that devil's a physical person, that 5% is still going to tell you, well, dummy, that was your fault. Like, you know what I mean?
Might even be that mean about it too.
Yeah, sometimes.
Damn, I'm home.
But so no, I see what you're saying as far as you know, your question. So anyone want to jump onto that?
I mean, this is one of those things where it's equality in here. So I know Akim, you wanted to add on.
Nah, actually, I was going back to, I was thinking about the difference between Nation of Islam and Nation of Gods and Nurse and how the father approached truth. You know what I'm saying? It was that the Nation of Islam, I think, operates underneath the traditional paradigm of power, American power, and organizational power, you know what I'm saying, over masses of people, you know what I'm saying? And I think the father represented the truth, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to take the truth outside of this structure, which renders the few with power, you know what I'm saying, and the masses, you know what I'm saying, bowing down and not having no true understanding, you know what I'm saying, and having to speak in this esoteric, Masonic, secretive, you know what I'm saying, language where it's like the father was more blatant and he broke the paradigm and took it to the streets where, enlightenment was needed, you know what I'm saying, where liberation was needed, you know what I'm saying, amongst, the people who had the most potential to how Frederick Douglass say it's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men. You know what I'm saying? Nice. And that's what the nation was repairing broken men. You know what I'm saying? The father was trying to build, strong children. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Which is kind of why religion goes out.
And that's why it's like it's no one leader. You know what I'm saying? There's a best knower, and each one teach one. You know what I'm saying? And that's the natural order of the universe, is that we're all connected. You know what I'm saying? And the best knower, you know what I'm saying, provides the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? In any situation, whether it be the oldest who has the most experience, but there's a natural order. That's why we stand in a cipher, because you know what I'm saying? It's like it's the natural order of the universe and shit. You know what I'm saying?
So let me ask you guys this. Can you get this information out of a book, over the internet? How does one come upon getting this information?
Can you learn kung fu over the internet?
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
There are some people who are trying, though.
I'd say it's quite possible, but that's not how we do it. It's not the proper way that it comes to you. How we do it is it comes on a person-to-person basis, because we like to take our time to see what a person is going through and give them counsel from a place of experience, as opposed to a person just kind of trying to put it together out of the ether.
Right. We got my man Born Allah in the house, my big brother. How you got?
Daddy Grace.
He's born.
Peace. What's going on?
I'm good, God. How you?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm feeling good about it. Peace to all the fathers out there.
Indeed.
Yeah. Father's Day.
Yeah, peace to you. Happy Father's Day.
I appreciate it. I'm a lot of people's father.
Yeah. That's right. Rap style and 5%, huh?
Hey, I'm doing it. You never pat nobody on their back for doing what they're supposed to be doing.
No doubt. I got an extra hand for you, though, God.
I appreciate it.
Get your pat on the back. Yo, I know, this show is dedicated to our brother who just passed, and I know you knew him on a personal level.
Absolutely.
So maybe if we can take a step back, even, and you kind of want to share about that and add on to
the brother Dumar.
Yes, sir.
Well, definitely. He was one of the people who first embraced me when I began going to a law school in Mecca. Just to give you everyone a brief understanding of my background, I'm one of the first born here in Love Allah, Los Angeles. I got knowledge in 1987, and the year one here in Los Angeles that we call Love Allah is the year 1989, and that's basically based off of the fact of when we had our first parliament at Leimert Park. So through my travels, when as a young 5%er, I began to go to New York and to a law school in Mecca. That was the first place I went, just to find out what it really was, and Dumar was one of the first elder brothers to embrace me, take time to build with me, give me jewels, and do different things with me. So
how was that, God? Because I didn't get to experience the brother personally, but I was watching some YouTube videos of the brother, and
he was definitely
he's no joke, huh?
Yeah, he was no joke. He was very fluid with the lessons. Like, that's one of the great things that I remember, how fluid he was, whereas he was able to reference the lessons throughout a conversation just effortlessly. Those type of things, his cross-referencing of lessons, the way he applied. And when I speak about the lessons, because I know there's a lot of people that may not understand what the 5% is, so just to give you a quick overview, when you come to the 5% Nation of Islam, there's various requirements that you're supposed to know, and the key thing is the lessons. Now, before you get the lessons, you're given what is Supreme Mathematics and Supreme Alphabet, which are basically principles given to the 1 through 9 and 0 in the number system, and also also given representation to all the 26 letters in the alphabet. Now, with these Jews right here, we are taught to utilize and break down 120 lessons. Now, basically, it's 100. If you add them up, really, it's 122, but there's 2 that are repeated. So it's 120 lessons that we're required to know, which come from 8 lessons. So when you deal with 120 is basically the first place that you learn to utilize the supreme mathematics and the supreme alphabet, which to us is the cornerstone to our teachings. This is what the Father Allah gave us that's unique to everyone else that has some type of consciousness. This is what one of the key things that separate us from the Muslims in the Nation of Islam is our utility of the supreme mathematics and supreme alphabet, because the lessons are actually Muslim lessons. They come from the mosque. The lessons is basically a series of answers and questions that was performed from Master Fard Muhammad and W.D. Fard in 1934. So when the Father left the mosque, because originally the Father was in the Nation of Islam in Temple Number 7 under the leadership of Malcolm X during this period of time. When the Father was in the Nation of Islam, he had access to many lessons because he was in a higher ranking form of the Nation of Islam, where people were access to various, I guess you could call exclusive lessons. So the Father was basically a person who had access to those, and from his usage of the lessons, he came to the realization that man was God, or that the black man was God. And because of that revelation, he decided to go and teach in the streets of Harlem, and teach the youth, because the Nation of Islam and mainly all organizations, when you came to consciousness, geared all their effort towards adults. So the Father took it and deemed it and understood that you can only change things from the youth. Right. So his exchange, he went and captured the young. Because initially he tried to teach the old.
Right, and that wasn't so successful.
Of course. I mean, and if you deal with any type of intelligence, and I wasn't there during that time, so as far as the reasons why the Father left the Nation of Islam is hearsay. Everyone says something different, but one of the key things is that he wanted to focus on the young.
Right. And they wasn't really on it like
that's
that.
not what they was on. So that was one of the main purposes, and one of the main reasons that separate us from the Nation of Islam, because we have the same lessons. Right. You can come across certain Muslims that may be able to quote the lessons almost similar to the way that we do. But with us, the lessons is basically a blueprint, and the first place that you learn to utilize supreme mathematics and supreme alphabet. And after you accomplish that, you apply that same effort and that same know-how that you utilize to break that and the mastery of that to master other things, master your life and other situations that come into your life. Right, 120 isn't the be all or end all. Like, I know 120 and I'm just this grand imperial,
walking on water.
Yeah, the grand poobah. That's not,
the grand poobah.
Yeah, you're not grand poobah just because you're able to learn 120. Right. It's basically the first place that you learn to use these tools that you're given. And I like to equate supreme mathematics and supreme alphabet the same way we do in our society when you go to school. When you start school, they just don't put you in the first grade. Right. The first place you go to is kindergarten or preschool. Right. And in kindergarten and preschool, your 1, 2, 3s and your ABCs. And based on your mastery of that will depend your success through going through the 1st to the 12th grade. So 120 is basically the classroom where we learn to work this and use the tools, because we got to realize in these lessons people are required to go and research various things. Right. Because there's various aspects to 120 degrees. You have the historical aspect, certain things that you can go and reference in history that took place in these lessons. You also have a form of mythology that takes place when you begin to talk about Yaku and Musa and various characters, and the reason why I call it a mythology, because when you go to try to refer to these people other than other religions, historically you really can't reference these people. Right. You see what I'm saying? Right. So it's a mythology really in a sense, because, and I always use this analogy with people when you deal with you listen to the story about the boy who cried wolf. No one sits around and argue about if it really took place. What was the boy's name? What was his name? Yeah. What kind of wolves were they? Like, nobody
you can't find his tomb. He wasn't there. You can't find his tomb.
No one sits around and argue these points.
Where was he born?
Right. You never argue these points. The key of the story is don't be calling people when you don't need them.
Right.
That's the jewel of the story. And and a lot of times when you approach 120, that's what it's about. You get these people who's into, he was this dude, and I'm not going to sit here and argue about that with you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even that type stuff to me was a way of going about teaching, because you have to think, when the history of Islam in America, the first person to teach Islam in America was Noble Drew Ali. From there, you have the Nation of Islam that was created in the 1930s. Noble Drew Ali is 1913, 1914 when he began to do what he does. Then you have the Nation of Islam, which was created around in the early 1930s. And then you have the final revelation, which is the 5% Nation of Islam, or Allah's 5%, Nation of Gods on Earth, whatever you're referring to him at time. So to me, these are all the step stools that took place for the revelation of man is God.
Right.
You see,
I see that.
You
That's
have
the
Noble
knowledge,
Drew
wisdom,
Ali.
understanding.
Exactly. You have Noble Drew Ali, who comes in and try to gives you, because when you think about the Moorish Science Temple, it's more nationality, who you are, you ain't this. You know what I'm saying? Then you have the Nation of Islam, and a lot of our people were still caught up in Christianity. So when I relate the stories and the mythology that Elijah was able to create in telling, the lessons in his mythology, when we refer to message to the black man and everything else, he had to teach that way because our people was coming out of Christianity. Which other way to get them to embrace this new form of thinking that's geared towards them and the knowledge of themselves? Which the best way to grasp at? If you just came now with the regular 1, 2, 3, the way we make it walk and talk today, people in the 30s wasn't ready for that.
Right.
So you have the Nation of Islam.
Ready for it in the 60s.
And they come with the program, because one thing you cannot front about on the Nation of Islam was his ability to clean up our people.
No doubt.
To take them from the worst point that they were, being drug addicts, prostitution, whatever their vices was, to be able to clean them up, So I and that's why you always, and when brothers always that teach me about the Father and his history, they always explain to me how he referenced him as the messenger, because that's who he was. He came with the message. Now with Allah, the reason why, or the Father, or some would try to refer to him as Clarence 13X historically, but when you approach a 5% and no calling him Clarence or Clarence 13X is disrespectful. Call him by his name, because you wouldn't refer to Muhammad Ali as Cassius. Cassius, but that was a sidebar that had to throw in. But as far as the revelation...
So let me let you hold that thought. We'll come back to that after we come back from this quick break real quick. Peace. Peace. Welcome back to the Knowledge of Self show. I'm Jaquil Knowledge Allah.
Peace, Rule Allah.
Peace. I'm born a law.
Peace, Teray Allah.
Peace. I'm Kwamel Allah, and that's the romper room mirror for you.
Peace. Yeah. So we switched some people up. Akim had to leave. He had some engagements to make it to. In any event, Born, before we left, you were kind of building on the father. Well, not kind of. You were building on the father
Right.
and family.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole brotherhood. So, what is really the teaching, or the 5% teaching on family and women?
That's the really the cornerstone of it. I mean, the family. Even when you look at our flag, all those things that you see in there, sun, moon, and stars, represent man, woman, and child. So that's what it's all about: building a family, building a strong family, and creating some type of lineage that you're keeping track of.
Okay.
That's one of the key things. I mean, thinking of our reference, which we call Allah the Father.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, that's when you look, like the first reference I gave you, when you look at the flag, you have sun, moon, and stars, and which also represents man, woman, and child. So that's the cornerstone of what it is: building a family, building a lineage of conscious, productive, civilized people.
Civilized people.
Civilized people, and that's the key.
Yeah.
That was one of the things, especially if you refer to the Father and the only living thing we have with his actual voice. We're hear him speaking. That was one of his key things about teaching and creating men, turning boys into men. That was his key thing. And that's our cornerstone as far as our teaching. You look at a law school in Mecca, is for the outreach and development of the youth.
Right.
So what he did was he came with a formula to go to the root of it. He said, if I'm able to change the lives and correct and teach the children are the trendsetters.
That's right.
So that's what it's all about. And we're not going to be able to raise decent children until we are able to find and create decent women.
So now, and this will be an open question. Oftentimes you hear, so in the 5% nation, we refer to the women as being the earth. And you may hear some brothers say things like, she's secondary but most necessary.
All those is cliche 5% of terms and brothers that come in with that Neanderthal mentality, So, I mean,
Go in.
And yeah, I mean, I put it to you this way: there's sexism in everybody. You can't go in nobody's religion, whatever, and not find the sexism. But that type of teaching, why would you teach a woman to be, in a sense, subsidiary?
Right.
I want something great. What it is that brothers are dealing with conflicts of their ego. So they start putting that stuff out on there. But my attitude is this: the black man is God. Ain't nothing changing about that. So I don't care, the sister that I'm with, how much her check is, if it's got more zeros at the end of it. None of that stuff makes no difference to me. I am the man. Right. And that's just what it is, and I don't. That's not something that I compromise as far as, because you have to think if sisters refer to, especially Christian sisters, if you refer to your book, they tell you to do all these things, submit and all that other stuff. We're not saying nothing new. We're not recreating the will here, But what I like to tell sisters that I'm teaching, that your duty is to submit, but don't be submitting to no nonsense. If you go out and choose a brother that's in a sense beneath you. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's like that means you're taking yourself down a level just to be with him if you're supposed to submit. So it's not about that. I'm not referring none of those sisters to go do that. Go find something great. Whatever qualities that you need or want to be happy and you feel that you need to be successful in creating a family, find that. Find that. But know when you find it and you choose it, allow him to be that.
There you go.
If you don't settle and you choose for everything that you're looking for in a man, and when you find that, then it's cool to go ahead and submit. Go ahead and trust in your decision. You chose that. But what you do is you have sisters out here that's choosing lesser than, which in turns around and makes you lesser than, and then you have, and we're not even talking about what the babies is going to end up being. So when we as the 5%, when you hear us referencing ourselves as God, Don't get caught up in the mystical thing like blasphemy and all that. Go and define the word. And other than supernatural, think about all the words and things that are terms that are close or associated with the term God, which basically means greatness. That's all we're doing is identifying the greatness that exists within us. Because for many years, many centuries, based off of what we went through in this country, we were never able to identify with any greatness about us. And that's what it's about. People get so caught up in, oh, you're saying God is blaspheming. It's like, if you take all the definitions out, if you take all the definitions and only one you take out is supernatural, how can you not find those qualities within the man?
Within man, right? No doubt.
If you take out supernatural.
Yeah, and I would like to pose that question. Oftentimes, this nation has started being kind of like a black nation. So where does a white man fit in? Like all my white homies.
Right. This is a nation.
Shout out to Trevor.
One of the key things that the father taught is that we're not anti-white nor are we pro-black. That and anyone can be a 5%. He said it himself. Anybody can come be a 5%. And basically what that's saying is that we're teaching the knowledge of yourself. So when you come as, say, a Caucasian person, and keep in mind, there's white 5%ers, I've just about met every nationality 5%er in a sense.
The first white 5%er, Azrael, has also just passed away.
Yeah, peace to Azrael. I've had some experiences and had a chance to build with him. Peace to him. And he was taught by the Father himself. So there are white people that are in our nation, and we're not turning away anyone. Like I said, we're not anti-white nor are we pro-black. The key is the knowledge of yourself. Now, when you come to the table and you get knowledge of yourself, just like when you come and I've realized certain things about myself that I don't like, you know what I'm saying, or that may be bad. You know what I'm saying? That's the same thing that you have to identify with as far as historically what your people have done and historically what we've seen your people to be. That's the first way that you're approaching it. So you say, hey, okay, I know my history now, but I am an honorable person. I am a righteous person. I'm trying to be correct in my deeds and just being honorable. Historically, I know what you are. But if you come to me and decided to deal in a brotherhood, like saying, hey, I acknowledge this, you got the knowledge of yourself and you know that you're the original man, and hey, I've come to the table and realized I want the knowledge of myself and that, hey, my people come from your people and my people have done horrible things to your people, but I want to be honorable. I don't want to live out that lifestyle. I don't want to live out that heritage that I have, that I come from. I want to be honorable in dealing with all people. How can you deny that? Why would we deny that?
Okay.
Matter of fact, I actually wanted to touch on a question that you asked earlier. Who would you consider a 5%er that's outside the 5% nation? In the white world, I would say a guy like Tim Wise, who that's one of the better speakers on knowing what white privilege is, recognizing white privilege as being something that is not kosher, and being willing to speak truth to power, because that's what the 5% does. We speak truth to power. We tell truth and we shame what? The devil. And Tim Wise, I'd say Tim Wise is definitely one of those guys. Peace.
What I don't want to get caught up into is sitting here, because I don't know people's livelihoods to be able to say, hey, this person is that, this person is this. But what I will do is just, of course, it's a judgment call, and I don't take nothing away from you. But if the better make the people to understand what the proportions are. In our teachings, the lessons that I was referring to earlier, you have the three proportions that came out. You have the 85%, you have the 10%, and you have the 5%. Now, the 85% basically represents the masses, the blind followers. You have the 10% who are basically the bloodsuckers, the people who know the truth, but based off of their acquiring the truth, they have decided to deceive people or to profit off of it based off of this deceit. Then you have the 5% who basically represent the people who are sincere and true and pure. Now, if our lessons, and I always tell even other 5% is this, if our lessons are to apply, they're to apply across the board and regardless of any environment. So I would like to even bring it to the church. Within the church, you have blind followers, people who just go because their mama made them go, her grandmama made them go, and we just going because this is the cycle. I don't know why. I'm here, and I'm going to continue to keep coming here, and I'm going to teach my kids to come. Then you have the 10%, people who are in the church who's trying to eat, trying to, and not necessarily the church, any organization.
Trying to drive a doper whip.
Yeah, that just wants to, just wants to eat, get their money and profit off of it. Then you have the 5%, the people who's really about the program, whose power of prayer really works. Because I heard you guys speaking earlier today, and I think I heard prayer come up. But this is my point is, especially in getting the knowledge of yourself, because, I think it was refreshed with, can anybody be God or something to that extent. And you have to realize that the power of God is within you. And you could see it regardless of what you've practicing. Now, there's a power in prayer that exists. Now, they may be putting it off for a mystery God that they can't see, hear, smell, touch, and taste, but it still exists. It's still the power of the mind, because everything is created from a thought. And when you're able to learn to control that thought, you're able to control your life and manifest your destiny. And that's what the power of prayer is. And is that people are able to believe so much that they're able to trigger this. And regardless of what they think the root of that belief is, or the God that's making this happen behind closed doors on the typewriter that's saying, yeah, we're going to make this happen. They believe in that so much that they make it happen. So if you really take away the, what we deny, which is the mystery God, who's there but them? Right. So that's a power that's implemented within them. They just giving somebody else the credit.
Right. So now, hold that thought for a moment. Let's talk about that. So why does the 5% teach that real culture and not a religion?
Because religion basically is a set of rituals that come about that people will push off on you to tell you to say this is the path of God. And either you follow, the only way you're going to get to God is follow these rituals. And every religion have it. Muslims say pray 5 times a day, don't eat pork, make sure you make your pilgrimage. Everybody got their program. Right. Follow this program and you'll get to God. And what the Father said is that I'm going to take all that out, all that regimen out, because that was one of the key things about the Father. He knew that the nation wasn't going to be able to get them because their program was too harsh for kids.
Okay, yeah.
They programmed too harsh. And that was one of the things that the elders that always told, that I built with, that I learned from, that he told me, they said Islam was in the streets already. Everybody was with it and listening to Malcolm, and everybody was with the business. Nobody wanted to go up in the mosque and put on the bow ties and sell. Right. They didn't want that program.
Right, but they was down with the whole.
They was down with the cause. Yeah. So what the Father did was come in and would say, hey, well, look, here's the lifestyle. Here's the culture. The culture is our God. And you ain't got to go to the temple. You ain't got to go to the church. You ain't got to go to the Masonic mosque. You ain't got to go no place to go get nobody's program, to get the knowledge of yourself.
Right.
And that's what made him effective.
That's dope.
True indeed.
Wrapping it up, anyone got any closing remarks they want to add on, or any thoughts?
Well, I think one of the things that I learned in this nation is that it's best to keep things simple, approach your life simply. And we're striving to just be, not only righteous people, but right within ourselves. And a part of just learning about yourself is trying to go through some sense of, or a process of self-discovery. Why did I do that? Why am I thinking these things? And why don't I change those things? So if there's anything that's always been spoken by 5%, to me is that, keep it simple. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. You have 2 choices, either right or wrong.
I like it.
I like to call it KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Exactly.
I would say that a big message of the 5% is the Father never taught a personality cult. He, put message above the messengers. When, he transitioned and left us, leadership was already, in us. So everybody is there to be a leader somewhere in society. We could be a leader of something, and that is one of the true marks of a 5%er, and that's one of the greatest gifts the Father left for us.
I like that. Yo, God, Adam, where can people get a hold of you if they want to maybe reach out, build with you, God?
Well, I'm reachable on Twitter at Kwamel, Kuahmel. I'm always on, and I'm hungry to take you wherever you want to go with it. I'm always here to point someone in the right direction.
Indeed. What about you, Born? Where can people get a hold of? And I got a request for you, God, if you got enough time. But where can people get a hold of you?
You can reach me on Twitter at LA Born Allah, You can also get me on Facebook, which is Facebook.com/Daddy Grace.
Indeed. Yo, God, can you end the show with a freestyle?
No, this is not rap. I hate this is one of the things, and this is why I won't do it. This is why I won't do it, because I came up in an era everybody always associated the 5% Nation with the rapper thing, and it's a New York thing, and it's a hip hop thing. I don't like to equate the two. You know, what I do as an artist is what I do as an artist. I came here to show and prove for my nation here today.
Okay.
You know, so I don't want people, because you might see me do some things as an artist creatively that, you know, you may not associate with the other thing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like mixing up the pot. You
That's
know,
fair
as
enough.
far
We
as,
catch you on another show.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you come in here, you want me to come in with the group and all that, we can go in. You know what I'm saying? But right now we're gonna build, because this was about Dumar.
Indeed.
You know, that's where I came when he brung it up. Life reached out to me and said, "Yo, I want to do this show about the 5% and, you know, really represent for Dumar." I was like, I was with that, because the brother took time out to build with me, and I, you know, wanted to take time out to just acknowledge him. And because the way I was building, he was one of the key people to help me to be able to articulate it this way. So I had to come and show and prove that, because the law always lives.
That's right. That's
Peace to God.
Indeed. And on that note, like to say peace to y'all. We'll catch you next Sunday.
Peace.
Peace.
There we go.
I'm sorry, fam. I ain't gonna put you on.
I got a gift of gab. That's what they call it in the dead world. I don't have no design wisdom. I got supreme wisdom. God only means man. So when you say God, you say man. You ain't saying nothing spectacular. If you have no resource, what good are you? What good are you to the children? Why would I give my life for a brother that's some 85 is jumping, and I run to a day jeopardizing the life of my grandchildren, my woman, and my children? Come to find out this knucklehead was wrong. And he been a pig eater, a closet pig eater, and now I put my life in line just because he say peace and he got a flag on and he master quote 120 degrees. No, that cannot happen. You can accept it or what? Reject it. When man accept what you say, that means he's willing to add on to what you are talking about. If a man rejects what you say, that means all you gotta do is walk away because he rejects the truth that you are telling. There are more good brothers and sisters in our midst than wrong. We all represent what? This nation. Every man must stand up and be accountable. You cannot build no nation without an infrastructure. You gotta have infrastructure. Infrastructure make everybody accountable and responsible. We all gotta stand up and be accountable. Peace.